Okay, welcome to this instalment of Butcher and Barrel. My name is James Darcy, as you probably already know, waiting for Lyle to jump on in here. Today is one of our collab days where we're sharing the space, and so Lyle, here he comes. So Lyle is going to be taking us through making bacon, and then I'm going to take us through a different way of using bacon, because it is I think it's National Sour Day or National Whiskey Sour Day. And so here we
Hello.
go. Hello, hello.
How are you doing?
Well, you first.
Good.
Hey, you first. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. And you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate.
Good stuff.
So just let people know it's Collaboration Day today, and I guess we're going to start off with bacon.
Yeah.
Start with bacon, and then I'm going to take us on to a different way of using bacon.
Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm going to be curing a loin of bacon. So I don't think it's very common over in the States, I don't think. It's like the actual eye of the meat, like where you get your pork chops from. So it's like back bacon, as opposed to like your streaky, things like that over there.
Let's cover this because so I'm in America.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to give you a call. Sorry, I'm seeing people coming in. So bacon in America, right? You've got Canadian bacon, which almost looks like a medallion, right?
Right, which is very much just the very eye of that.
Right. And then typically what I'll see here is what we would call streaky bacon.
Yeah.
Right? And in England, what you usually get is you'll get I guess it's back bacon, but you can describe it to me, but just to say it in layman's terms, and you can say it professionally. So you have the circle, almost of like a medallion feel, and then you have this like tail. It almost looks like a mini steak.
Yeah, exactly. So it's this continuation. It's like the sirloin or ribeye completely all together.
Right.
And then this little bit further on here, that will turn into your streaky, so your belly of the beast.
Okay. So, so basically, typical English back bacon sounds very fancy because it's really a combination of two steaks as opposed to just a bit of the belly. Though I do love some pork belly. I wish I saw more pork belly and more back. Anyway, so moving on. Curing. There's many other things that I'd prefer you to cure right now, but surely you can cure some pork instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we do like a dry cure at the shop. That's the process of putting a salt and cure mixture on it. So we use a cure 2. You can get a cure 1, which is a lot quicker, but we use a cure 2 because it's a slower curing process. So you mix it, you get the cure 2. Go on.
But what is curing? I mean, like as I think about it, it's like you're putting a pile of salt on it. And
exactly. It's salt and sugar and a cure 2, which is like a nitrate kind of thing. And it's kind of like an osmosis that's happening. You're trying to draw as much water or liquid out of the product because that's what will make the bacon. That's what makes meat go off, like the excess of water. Essentially.
Okay, and that's
so you're drawing as much of that out as possible.
Grow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
So you're drawing as much of that out as possible. It usually takes about 2 weeks, or a week to 2 weeks, depending on how long you want to leave it. But dry curing is putting this dry rub on there and letting it sit in its own juices. The longer you do it, the deeper the flavor becomes, and the slower as well. But a wet cure is almost like a brine. How you do like a pastrami or anything like that. That's more like a brine. So you're adding extra water to it. So
would that be quicker?
Yeah, it can be quicker. Yeah.
I think it's got more contact, so I would think it's probably going to be a faster process. And I imagine that commercially, most people are going to be wet curing.
Yeah,
like it would be a lot easier.
Yeah, and you can like big vats. You can add way more stuff into a wet cure than like you can either individually vacuum pack it like this, which you might have seen before. Kind of like what you get in a supermarket, or your meat would be in that.
Yeah.
Or you can leave it sat in trays in the salt. You have to rotate it every day or every other day just to keep the surface area going as well. So here we've got salt, like fresh sea salt. We put a white sugar into it as well, just because otherwise, like you were saying just before, it'd be too salty otherwise.
Right. Right.
And we've added some bay leaves for some extra flavor, peppercorns, and pimento as well.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so you get a really nice flavor from there as well. So we've got 5 different types of peppercorns in here. got white peppercorns, red peppercorns, pimento, black peppercorns. So yeah,
Nice.
let me go ahead and just bone this loin out for you, and we'll take you through the process quickly. So you've seen this before, running your knife just along those, well, spare ribs, essentially.
So if you're making this, that means that you can't have spare ribs, or the ribs are going to come out and you will have spare ribs?
Yeah, you can have spare ribs, but they won't be as meaty as I like them, personally. But yeah, I'll show you those as soon as I get this off.
Right. So note to everyone out there, if you're ever getting Lyle some ribs, get him meaty ribs. He wants meaty ribs, not bacon trimmed non-meaty ribs.
Yeah. But also you can cure these ribs as well, and like make bacon ribs. So it's just here. That's your spare ribs, just on that there.
And actually, there's a question. Why are we curing at all? Is it just for flavor, for texture? Like, I know that you said you can preserve, like
yeah, exactly.
Was it originally a preservation?
Yeah, so it's a preservative back when we didn't have as advanced refrigeration as what we do nowadays and things like that. So it's an old technique that people found delicious, so we've just carried it on.
I mean, it's the same thing that we do with, like, you know, salt cod or salted anything, right? Just stick it in a barrel with a pile of salt, get rid of the water, because then bacteria can't grow, organisms can't grow, it lasts longer.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. Right, so that's it, completely boneless now. We do it with a rind on. You can take this rind off, but we like to leave the rind on there. Just a little bit more of an extra texture to it as you're cooking and eating. Because these backpack bags are a little bit smaller, I'm just going to split this loin directly in half. So then, this is what you would have come to see, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's your back bacon there.
Got it.
And you can kind of see the start of the belly here, where it starts to turn a little bit fattier and fluffy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is zero this off. I'm just going to take the weight of these two. We cure a 5% mixture. So, can you see that?
I can just about see it, yeah.
Right. So it's on the scales. Currently reading 4.54 kilos. So I'm going to do 4.54 times 50, because we're doing like a 5%.
Right.
So I need 227 grams of our cure that we have prepared already.
Okay.
Set that back off. Right. It's once you have everything set up in preparation, it's a really easy process.
Right. So this is something that people could be doing at home, and you could just do it with, I mean, you went through a couple of different curing mixtures and spices. Is it really whatever you want it to be? It's just you will need to have salt being the main backbone, and then a good amount of either sweetener or herbs and spices.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's been a lot of development in like nitrate-free as well. People are worried about nitrates and things like that. So there's been a lot of development in like natural preservatives. So like celery is a really good one. It's got a high nitrate content naturally.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that the bacon that I had that I ended up picking up, because I had to get grocery store bacon.
Right.
Yes, that one was actually uncured, but then it did mention celery salt, so they had done something with it.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, maybe they.
Yeah, so that would be like a natural one. Any bacon is kind of cured, even if you're smoking it. That's another way of making it a cured product.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So right, so we've got our weighed out section here. We've got our two pieces here, and this is the important part. We pop those into this vacuum pack here.
And so this is the same kind of backpack that you would use if you were going to be cooking sous vide, if you're just, leaving anything to back.
Yeah, exactly. Something with a high tensile strength.
Yeah.
And all of this cure goes in.
Oh, it is a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've obviously, if you add weight with the pimento and the Baileys and things, you've got to equate that in the measurements that you're doing as well.
Right.
So otherwise, if your cure isn't correct, you're just going to have a spoiled product and it will just continue to rot in there as well.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, delicious, right? So most important thing is you want to coat every single surface of this bacon
Right.
to get the biggest contact, like we were saying before. So essentially, you're like just giving it a little massage kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that you would have to really get all of the rind as well. I thought maybe that side you could leave because it's kind of protected, but I guess the idea is to get rid of water from everywhere, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like pork is a very got a lot of water content in pork, so
right.
Really need to get that in there.
And I guess that's why traditionally you find so many more pork products have been cured or have been something else, and it was just down to preservation back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where the name the Boston butt comes from. It's
right
out in Boston, obviously, and they used to take all the pork shoulders, put them into big vats of barrels, actually, of salt, and that was it. That's Boston butt. So, right, that's all covered now. They sit there like this in this bag, and I'm just going to vacuum pack it, so I'm going to be away for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's funny, Lyle mentioning about the Boston butt there again, like, but we're typically thinking it's coming from the part of the animal, but barrels have been used for thousands of years at this point. We figured out how to use it for liquid a long time ago too, but prior to that, we used to use it for everything, for carrying, salt, spices, just dry goods, because wood is super malleable. You can bend it, you can shape it, you can make it watertight, when you want to get to that point. And so, meat, much like whiskey, used to just get thrown into these barrels as well, and then you would add, salt and other things to preserve it. I suppose that it's the secondary items that really gave the flavor. Whereas for us with whiskey, of course, it is the barrel that gives us the whiskey. So we care way more about the actual quality of that cask. But the butt is around about 500 liters. We do find them a lot in Spain being used for sherry production. Down in Jerez, so you'll find puncheons and butts both around about that 500 liter mark. Which is funny because then you have a hogshead, which is half of that. So I wonder if that's what we put hogsheads in. I guess that would make sense. I've never really thought about it. But yeah, both of them have names that sound like right around meat as well.
Okay.
Oh,
and we're back. So it's been vacuum sealed now, so it's got a really nice tight back on that. You won't get any leakage or anything from the product, and you're getting essentially pushing that salt and flavors all into that meat there. Yeah. And we label everything up here, if you can see. Yeah. First stage cured, takeout dates are used by, so we put a week's date on it. So the takeout of this will be the 2nd of the 9th. Okay. And then we wash it down and then hang it in the fridge just to air dry as well. Just get all that extra moisture as well. Very good. So yeah. Nice. That's the process of baking bacon. Like I say, it's pretty simple once you have all the correct products and the correct weight of everything. Right. It's pretty simple after that. And then I guess you just, so at that point then you're just slicing it as thick or as thin as you want. When it comes to smoking, like when people do smoke it, do you do any smoked bacon where you are? If you do, how do you do it? Are you having to dry smoke, I guess? Just as a 5-second aside. Yeah, so we've literally just bought a big industrial smoker that we're going to get plumbed in. Casually. Yeah. And that's a cold smoker. Yeah. So nothing will be cooked in there. Yeah. It gets up to 80 degrees. We can use anything from hickory chips to old whiskey barrels to apple wood to oak, ash, and it's all in little chips. It's not chunk wood. So and you just dampen those down, and then it will slowly just smoke. We will be doing it for a 48-hour smoke. So So coming soon, there's going to be a lot of either happy or upset neighbours, and there's going to be a lot of smoked products coming. Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we haven't sold Network Rail, but we're doing it in the Arch. So see what happens. Yeah. Very good. But yeah, so that's bacon curing. That's bacon curing. Okay. Well, in a very layman's terms. But yeah. Right. And so what we're going to take now is we're going to use that bacon to make a cocktail. And so something super popular became incredibly popular around 2007. You've heard of PDT, right? In New York, the cocktail bar. Yeah. So Don Lee from PDT in 2007 comes out with the Benton's Old Fashioned. I think I could be. No, it can't be right. I was going to say the name's Benton. It's not. It's coming from a different place. But he was using ham and effectively rendering out the fat from ham.
washing it with some, I think he was using bourbon at the time, he was making old fashioned, but rendering it with bourbon, and then basically fat washing the whiskey. So, infusing it to give it some flavor. Of course, whenever you're doing anything with alcohol, it's going to, take flavors a lot quicker. And one of the things, of course, with putting in the fat is that you can very easily filter it back out. You just have to freeze it, and then it's going to, congeal. The liquid isn't going to freeze because it's too high in alcohol, and so you can really pass it back out. And so I'm not sure if you saw on my Instagram today, there were a couple of little posts out there. So I had a bacon sandwich for breakfast, which is the first time I've had bacon in about 3 months or something.
How was that?
It was delicious.
Yeah.
And so from that, I got around about 1.5 ounces of fat, like 4 or 5 streaky rashes. I actually got a lot less than I thought I would. And so I took that, put it into this used jam jar, which I couldn't get the label off of, which is why it looks really sketchy. Really good glue on this jam jar. I wouldn't want to come off. And so, basically what I did was I did a 1 to 2. I actually cheated. I put in a tiny bit more whiskey, but I put in like 4 ounces. I should have put in 3 ounces. And then I left it in there. I put a lid on it pretty quick because obviously the second that the whiskey raises in temperature, I don't want all the alcohol to get out. In an ideal world, I'd be using a backpack. Right? I'd be vacuum packing it like you are. And then if I wanted to, I could then put it into like a sous vide and keep it warm and really get them interacting a lot.
Okay, right.
I can't do that in this because I'm going to burn off the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So it was in there for like 4 hours. I threw it into the freezer for an hour or so, and I'm literally just going to pass it through. This isn't really a cheesecloth; it's a little bit finer. I've got a big old. Now I've got that lovely big old congealed fat ball inside,
right?
Which I'm sure will be delicious for cooking if I want to, I guess. Anyway, so that's in here, and this is a little bit cloudy, but it's really not. Yeah, I don't really see any large particulates in this. If you have a look, so this is not just a washed, just washed out. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this into something else, I think.
Okay, so it's really important to freeze it to separate that fat, otherwise you're going to get that scum on the top of your drink and things like that.
Exactly,
right?
and there's a fair amount in here. I actually had shaken mine because I really wanted to make sure that the flavour got in there. If I hadn't shaken it, of course, it would have just sat on top and was really nice. And I could have probably just poked a hole and poured it out instead of even having to filter it, but I would always filter it.
Right. So ideally, you did it this morning. Is that enough time, or if you wanted to leave it for a week?
Honestly, it's hot fat. It's 2 liquids. They're going to exchange very quickly. It isn't quite the same strip out from something else. When he originally made it, to my understanding, he just did it for like 4 hours and then froze it for 2. The bacon that I was able to get was a just like an applewood uncured streaky bacon. I didn't go for cured because I didn't want to add any of the salts that I can't control. I figured that I'm going to get the flavor from some of the smoke that I want. I'm using Lyle 12, so I didn't want like crazy smoke because I want to taste this smoke because it's about this one. But that one was, so his one was called Benson's Old Fashioned. I know who's using ham, but then using maple syrup as a sweetener as well. It is apparently International Sour Day, so I figured rather than making an old fashioned, we'll go ahead and make a whiskey sour because why not? So we're going to jump right in, and this is just 1 ounce of lemon juice that's going to go straight in to my shake. I'm going to add 3/4 of an ounce of maple syrup, so it really has that kind of like breakfast feel.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to put in a bit scant because I know that this is actually quite sweet, this syrup, so I don't want it to be too crazy. It's not sour, and if it's too sour, I can add some more afterwards, of course. And I'm going to add in 2 ounces of this fat washed whiskey. And it goes. It's funny where the mind goes because I've only ever had this with bourbon before, not with scotch. When I smell it, I feel like I smell bourbon. I don't think I do. I think it's just because my mind's like, it's alcohol. Oh, it's bacon fat. Oh, it must be bourbon. No, there's no bourbon in here. There's no grain. I do need to ice it.
So do you think this kind of only works with like a whiskey or a bourbon, or could you do like a vodka martini with this as well? I know it's not what it's kind of covered.
Yeah, I mean, you can absolutely do it. You'll get a lot more of the flavour out, right? Because there's less to stand up against. I think that the bacon and the fats and the richness of it, you want something to balance against it. Otherwise, it would be like having just oysters with a massive cab. If that's your thing, that's great. But you're not going to taste a whole lot of the oysters because you're having a big cab. I think it'd be the same kind of thing. So if you don't like vodka, but you drink it because I don't know, whatever, And you don't want it to taste like vodka, sure, do it with vodka, because then you'll
Chuck it in there, right?
Yeah, you'll get some great, you know. So I'm going to shake this off. So pardon me. Okay, so I'm going to empty this out into this glass. We're actually going to do a reverse, the reverse shake, or the like reverse dry shake, if you like. So we are going to add an egg white. I'll tell you what though, if you look at that,
Yeah.
because of the fat, you'd think that I'd already put an egg white in it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Look at that, beautiful. I haven't, and we are going to add one, but I'm going to get rid of this. Oh, actually, there's a bit more foam in there. Let's get this out. There we go.
Okay, so is the froth from the protein in the fat as well? Is that what you're going to get extra from the egg white as well?
That's right. So we are going to get the egg white as well. But yeah, you're right. You watch. I'll break this yolk now. Oh,
yeah.
Actually, I very nearly did. That was pretty funny. Actually, it wasn't that funny. That would have been very annoying. Okay, that goes in there. This can go back in. And the beauty of doing it the reverse way around is a bit more messy, but the colder that it is, especially in contact with ice, supposedly prevents it from foaming up in the same way. So doing this, you know, the other way around. I've been doing this for a while now. Like the guys out of what's it called, the Worship Street Whistle Shop. I know that they put it in their book like years ago, and everyone's like, oh, so you all of a sudden start seeing everybody doing these, you know, reverse shakes instead. Okay, because I could see how full the glass was already, I'm actually not going to add any ice to this. This is a very small glass.
Whoa.
Because if I add any ice, it's just going to,
go over the top. Look at that.
That's right. So I suppose that this really isn't a Benton's. I should have found out what kind of if there's any pigs or cattle up in Orkney, and we should have had like a nice breed name as a something whiskey sour. I guess it's just an Orcadian sour, I guess. But I should have prepared with a better name, really. I am actually going to just drop in a couple of bitters on the top.
Yeah. Is that just normal bitters? I say normal bitters. I don't really know that.
I think normal bitters, yes, they're normal. Yes, it's just extra little. So there we have it. So you can see now, especially with that, it really is full of the.
Wow. And will that settle clear if you give it a minute?
I don't think so. No.
Was that good, or was that a good thing?
It's very good. It's half an ounce of. I used about half an ounce of syrup in the end, not 3/4, and that was more than enough.
Right.
And it is always better to aim a bit lower than higher, because I'd rather have it too sour. It's supposed to be a sour.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Add a bit more to it afterwards instead. But yeah, so this was this was 2 ounces of Highland Park. Effectively, you know, cooked up some bacon this morning. Had a nice sandwich. Put the bacon fat 1 part to 2 parts in a glass jar with the whiskey. Put the lid on right away because I don't want any vapor getting out. Left it until it pretty much like settled. Then I put it in the freezer to really chill it down. You saw the rest. Strained it. I've now got some left over for later, which is great. What it does, especially with Highland Park, like a lot of other peated whiskies, right? Like the Isla peated whiskies, can almost be kind of meaty. They sometimes taste like smoked meat. You don't really get it with Highland Park. It's just like different chemicals that are in there. And I say chemicals naturally occurring from the process of peating. We're not adding chemicals to the whiskey. The compounds, probably sounds better, can give that flavor. You don't really get that from Highland Park. You get more of that light floral aromatic smoke. So doing this, you actually now get kind of like meat, and you also get applewood smoke in there as well. But it's a kiss. It's obviously not crazy. So you just get great umami, savory whiskey sour. You got bright sour. Works very well against the kind of like rich fat side. Normally, I typically see the fat washing going into those old fashions like the Bentons. But as a sour, it's delicious because it really does separate it out nicely.
Yeah, nice. And that would be just a normal casual drink, like you'd have, like, it wouldn't be, I don't know, like an aperitif or anything like that. It would just be like a casual drink at the bar kind of thing.
You know, this is a funny one. It's really quite strange because you have this acidity so like uplifting and bright when it hits the palate, but then you really get a very, very clear flavour of bacon coming through, like especially
Right.
at the end, and like a slight salinity of bacon. So it's
Maybe it'd be a great, if you're doing a tasting menu, it'd be a great in-between course. If you're doing a nose to tail of a pork or pig.
it would be a great dish that's both a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Especially if you were actually leading, I think it would work very well if you were trying to clear your palate from the last thing, but were leading into a smoked dish or leading into a pork dish afterwards. I think it could be a great way to do it. But if you're outside having a barbecue, you can't be drinking this all day because there's 2 ounces of whiskey and you could crush it very, very quickly. But I think, you know, you're casually outside, you're hanging around, like it's really playful. It's nice and bright, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of chill. It's nice.
No, good.
Yeah, well, that's another way that people. So if people are picking up bacon, you can recommend to them save your bacon fat.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, use every bit of it. Eh?
That's right. I'm going to get rid of all the liquid in the fat. I might bring it up to temperature to evaporate anything off, and then let it go back down. And I might do. I'll see if I can cook in it because now I've also got some whiskey bacon fat.
Perfect.
So, you know, Lyle, you can text me later with any good suggestions of what I should cook in bacon fat, being whiskey washed bacon fat. But that's, you know, now it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Perfect, dude. No, that's nice. I think we should do a couple more of these. I think.
Yeah, we'll find some more at some point. We'll figure out some pairing ones as well, where it's more about like no, it's been done. We haven't seen it before. We did do a sausage, where I made a cocktail and Lyle made some sausages. Which was interesting, if not grotesque, to watch.
We had a lot of good feedback on them as well. So
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then. So next time, if anyone's got any thoughts or ideas of what we should do for a collab, let us know. But as always, good to see everyone. Lyle, great to see you. I'll catch you in a minute afterwards. Lots of love. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.